Morning, everyone. Just waiting for a few more people. Thanks for joining us. Okay, can everyone see my screen? Excellent. So, thanks everyone for joining us. We are just going to kick off now. Before we start, I'd like to say that this is going to be a very interactive session. I'll try to make it as interactive as possible. So, I can see someone's connecting to audio. So, if you can't hear me, I hope you will eventually connect to audio. So I want you to be a part of what we're doing today. So I'm not going to do all the talking. I need to hear from you. Your voice also counts. And so in the chat, if you know where the chat is, I would like you to please say, and this is my test that you can actually hear me, say who you are and where you're from. So you could say your name and tell us whether you're the parent of an A-level student or an undergraduate parent, and where you're dialing in from Lagos, from Abuja, from London, or postgraduate parent. So in the chat, please, your details. Thank you, Chosen, for typing in your details. Okay, thank you. We've got a parent from Colchester. Parent, please tell us whether your child is in A levels, undergraduate, or postgraduate. Thank you, Fumi. Thank you, Fola from London, parent of an A level student. Okay. Okay, I see A level graduate parent. So we now know, and we're going to use the chat box for questions and answers. So I just wanted to make sure everybody is able to chat and able to put their questions in when the time comes to enter your questions. Thank you, Henrietta. Thank you, Fumi. Thank you, Kike. Thank you, Fola. Thank you, Olufumilola. Okay, we're going to kick off. So, who am I and what are we going to achieve today? In today's session, I want you to come away from this session with value. I want you to come away with three key things. Number one, there are new updates to UK's immigration system for students. What does that mean for your child if your child is studying in the UK? Number two, when should you start to think about your child's career if you want a great return on the investment that you're spending on your child for student fees, tuition, levels, for boarding schools? When do you need to start doing something about it? Or when does your child need to start doing something about it? And number three is I'd like you to know what and how your child would transition from being a student into getting into a great career in the UK. So that those are the three key things that I'd like you to take away from the session today. Okay? So three key things to take away. What the immigration changes means for you and your child. When do you need to start, or when does your child need to start if you're going to get the best return on your investment in school fees? And how will your child transition from being a student to becoming a somebody that works in the UK with a great career? So I now know that I've got the right people here. You are in the right place because I can see that I've got people with children who are doing their IGCSEs, A levels, undergraduates. That's you are the right people. You're in the right place. You're not in that wrong webinar. You're in the webinar that you signed up for, not the wrong one. So who am I? My name is Bumi Adeke, and I'm a parent myself. Okay, I have two sons who are in their late 20s. I came back to the UK about 26 years ago. And when I came back, both our sons were under 5. In fact, they were 2 and 1 to be precise. And I found out quickly that there was a problem in the system. And that problem was that every time you picked up the newspaper, all you heard of was about young black boys and being in gangs, being in crime, and having no prospects in life. And I said to myself, my husband and I, we looked at each other and said, whoa, what we got ourselves into? This is not going to be our story. This is not going to be the statistic that we walk away with. Our story has to be different. So we believed God that our story was going to be different. We also did what would make our story different. What did we do? We started to research about education to understand the system end to end. And for every stage, we understood what was going on. I felt, oh wow, I know too many people around me that don't know what I know. And so we started to share I started to share the information that I was getting. So it was about, okay, how do you get into the best secondary schools? How do you get into the best universities? How do you get into the top career jobs? What, as God will have it, when God makes a way for you, when you have a desire for something, then you find yourself actually achieving that thing. And one of the things that I was able to achieve was that in my own career, I worked in Deloitte, which is one of the big consulting firms in the city of London. And I was involved in graduate interviews. I actually volunteered because they said, okay, what are the things you can do to make the practice develop? And I was very interested in helping with graduate interviews because I wanted to know, how do they get graduates into these places? And I found out, to my surprise, that a lot of foreign students were being accepted into these places, but not a lot of Nigerian students because they did not know about the system. So I found out so much because I was part of the interview process and I learned what was needed for you to get through to the interview stage and how to even get from interview to the job itself. So, apart from what I already knew with the whole education system, I now became somebody that knew about how you transition from being a student to becoming to getting into a graduate job and into one of the graduate schemes. So over the years, I have coached many parents and I have coached many students. I run workshops. I do a whole lot of things. So I've got a website which you can see on the screen, and we are also on social media. I'm not very active on social media, but I do have some stuff on social media. So before we go ahead, I just want to ask another question. And I'm going to launch a poll for us to address that question. I will launch the poll now. If you just give me 1 second, stop sharing my screen, and I will launch the poll. I want everyone, please, to respond to this poll. And the question is, if you can see it on your screen, what matters most when applying for a job in the UK? You just choose one of them. Is it your citizenship or your profile? Okay. Any more respondents? Okay. Fantastic. So I think everyone has responded. And now I'm going to show the answers. So can you see on your screens the answers that everyone's typed in? Can everyone see the answers? If you can't, wave or let me know. Okay. So 30% believe that it's your citizenship and 70% believe that it's your profile. The answer is it is your profile. No matter where you come from, whether you come from the moon, from Venus, from Mars, if you've got the right profile and you apply for a UK job and it's a graduate job, you will actually get it. And so what I'm trying to share today is, how does your child build that profile from when they start their A levels or university to get them to that point where they would be able to get a job? Okay, I'm going to stop sharing the poll. Okay, I'm going to show my screen again. Did everyone see the results of the poll? I'm not sure. Chosen, did you see it? Okay, you did. Okay. Just to introduce Chosen to you, Chosen, can you tell us a bit about yourself? So, Chosen is a student that is helping me today. Tell us a bit about yourself and why you're helping me today.
So hello, I'm Chosen and I'm an undergrad student. I do history at the University of Birmingham. Um, yeah, I've known Auntie Bumi all my life because she's my auntie. And yeah, I've also learned a lot through her about internships and work experience and how to write your CV as well. And it's all been really useful for me in building my own profile. And also what I'm doing right now can count as work experience that I can put on my CV. Um, so yeah, I've been around Auntie a long time and learned a lot from her. So I would recommend her to all of you also. So yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Chosen. So, a lot of people talk about experience, and we'll come into that later. Someone like Chosen volunteers to support me every now and again, and all of those things count for her CV when eventually the time comes for her to apply. In fact, I helped her with her CV recently, and she got an interview. We're waiting for the results. So, the first thing I want to talk about is the graduate route visa, which has opened up. It was always there, but it has opened up a bit more this year. And so it's opened up maybe mainly because of Brexit. And I also think that a lot of Nigerians are now, I think majority of people on this call are Nigerians. So forgive me if you're not Nigerian and I say Nigerians. I mean foreign students, but I'm focusing mainly on Nigeria today. A lot of Nigerians are now sending their children to Canada instead of the UK for a number of reasons. First, it's the foreign exchange is crazy, so it's a bit cheaper. But more importantly, Canada is more immigration friendly. And I think the Brits have sourced this out. And guess what? All that money you're spending matters to them. And so there is a lot of money that they're losing when Nigerians do not send their children to the university here in the UK. So, in order to encourage people, they've opened up this new graduate route visa. Now, what it is that from 1st of July this year, if you're a Nigerian, it's not only for Nigerians, but it's applicable. Nigeria is one of the countries it's applicable to. The other reason why they've done it is because of Brexit, because they're losing a lot of talent due to Brexit. In fact, I have a commercial awareness page on my website because students are usually asked about their commercial awareness when they go to interviews. And one of the things that is showing up in the news is that there's a shortage of skills. So this is a great time to be a graduate if you've got the right skills and you've got the right profile. Now, basically, what's happening is that because of the fact that they probably have a skills shortage, they have a shortage of people coming to university here, they're becoming more open to Nigerians and people they know, so the countries like Nigeria, Ghana, that they know would have good profile students. It's different from the tier 2 and tier 4 visas that we're quite familiar with. In this case, you are able to stay and work in the UK after your degree for a maximum of 2 years. But it doesn't have to be sponsored by any employer. And it doesn't have to be a high profile job. It could be any job. You could be stacking shelves in Tesco for the next 2 years if you want. We can turn that to our advantage. Okay. So there are no restrictions. You could even be job hunting for 1 year out of the two. They don't care. That's fine because you can stay here. But why would you choose the lower end? That this graduate route visa gives you an opportunity, and we should capitalize on that opportunity. So, for example, I just want to share some examples of what kind of salary a graduate could earn in the UK. I got this from an organization called Trendens. On this slide, you can see that if you're a solicitor, you could earn about an average of 34,000, almost 35. I promise you, I know graduates that earn a lot more than this. So these are averages. I do know young graduates that earn 40,000 per annum in investment banks, in law firms. And on top of that, when they're in places like investment banks, they will get a bonus at the end of the year. So it is more than 40K. Okay. So these are the types of jobs that you should be gunning for if you're going to send your child to the UK to get, you're going to spend a lot of money. And not only that, You want that child to have a profile that opens doors internationally, not just in the UK. Even if the 2 years are up and you need to go, you want your child to have something great on the CV. And guess what? The more highly skilled you are, they said success breeds success. The more highly skilled you are, the more likely you are to have your employer file for you at the end of your 2 years to say, this resource is going nowhere, I want them to stay. So they could file for your skilled workers visa at the end of that period. So the important thing is you start the success cycle, and when you start the success cycle, you effectively get yourself into a place where success is starting to breed more success for you. And why is this important for you? It's important because I can see that some of the parents here have got children in IB, have got children in A levels, even some even start before A levels. But at a minimum, let's say your child is in A levels, that child's going to spend 2 years. And then the average degree is a 3-year degree. So you're going to spend 5 years. Your child's going to spend 5 years minimum if they start from A levels in their education. And then maybe if they get this 2-year option, they stay another 2 years, they spend 7 years in the UK. Over the 5-year period when they're in school, you're probably going to spend, I've been conservative here. If you're going to some of the top boarding schools, you're paying 40,000 per annum. For university fees, you're paying foreign fees most of the time, and that is not the same as our 9,000 that we pay. Plus, on top of the fees, you have living costs. So perhaps you're spending 30 to 40K per year over 5 years. You may even spend 200K. Not to talk about all the flights, your own flights, your child's flights, visits, all of that. In some cases, you even find that you're not doing a 3-year degree, you're doing a 4-year course that some are 4-year courses and some are 4 that include the masters. So you'll be spending 8 years in total. Honestly, if you're going to spend that much, you deserve a healthy return on your time and money. You're spending so much on these children. So why would you now not want to get, for example, these kinds of jobs that we're talking about here? Now, I am going to ask for us to, sorry, 1 second. Yeah, I am going to look at what is the alternative. The alternative is that your child may be getting minimum wage job after finishing 5 years or 6 years of spending almost 200,000. That is definitely not what you want for your child. And you know what? Your child will easily get the minimum wage job if that's the case. Why? Because this new visa says it doesn't matter what kind of job, it's not skilled. You could be stacking shelves in Tesco, you could be serving coffee in Costa Coffee, it doesn't matter. Guess what? For a 21 to 22-year-old, that is a minimum wage job. They'll be getting only about 17,000 when they could be getting 40,000 plus bonus in an investment bank, where they could be getting 35,000 in maybe in a law firm. So the question is, what do you want for your child? Do you want your child to just be on that minimum wage job? They will live in UK, fine. Now, let me qualify what I mean by rubbish jobs. When your child is in university, if they got minimum wage jobs like this to do in the holidays, to do with in a shop, in Tesco's, in Costa Coffee, it's fantastic. It's actually important that they do that at least once. The reason is that it helps them acculturalize, so they get more used to the UK culture, to the way the public work. That's fine as a student. In fact, it boosts your CV. It's one of the things you want on your CV. It's not the only thing. You need better experience, but you need that type of experience as well because it shows that you're in touch with reality, you're in touch with the general person in the public. But when you finish having spent 200,000, that is not the job you want, is where I'm leading to. So don't take it that that's not a job your child would ever do. It's actually important that they do that when they're students. Now, I want us to go into Slido. So, Chosen, if you can please put the link in the chat box. There are 2 ways you can go to Slido. You could type in slido.com into your browser or your phone and type in this code that you can see on the screen. Alternatively, you could click on the link that Chosen has just put into the chat box. Okay? And The question on Slido is, what do you think is required to get this type of jobs? But give me 1 second and I'm going to launch the Slido. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. The number, if you want to use the slido.com, is 69835. And I'm going to share my Slido screen in 1 second. Okay. Okay. You can also just scan the QR code and the poll will come up. So I am going to launch the poll now for those of you who are already in Slido. And the question is, what do you need in order to get the top graduate jobs? Type in as many answers as you think. So just feel free to type in your answers. If anyone's struggling to get into Slido, please put it in the chat and we will help you with that. Okay, so you could either click on the link in the screen in the chat box, or you could type slido.com and put in the number, or you can scan the QR code that you can see on the screen to comment. So I can see one person has joined. Thank you. So please click on this. As I said at the beginning, we're going to try to be as interactive as possible. What do you need to do in order to get the top graduate jobs? If you're struggling with maybe typing the answer or not knowing where to type, please let me know and we'll sort that out. All right, now I'm going to show the answers. So, okay, I can see the answers here. Can you see my screen? You can see the answers. So people have talked about top grades, work experience, good qualifications, good communication skills, yeah, good degree, strong volunteer experience, good qualifications, all good stuff. Thank you. Thanks for your answers. Yeah, I can see even more. Thanks for your answers. Internships with excellent firms, fantastic. Good CV, evidence of some form of work experience, good grades. That's like the biggest, that's what most people are saying. So great. These are fantastic answers. Okay, let's move on. Thanks for your participation with that. All right, I'm going to share my screen again. So let's go back to our slides. All right, so I have this, I call this the SENT formula, SENT. Soft skills, experience, your network, and your technical skills. And I'm not going to go into detail of this today, but I'm just going to touch on it briefly. And so these are the key success factors for getting a good and strong job. And the majority of people who've responded, in fact, everyone who's responded has identified at least one or two of these factors. So the first thing I want to talk about is soft skills. What most employers say is that they do not get students with good soft skills. And what do they mean by soft skills? They talk about communication skills, which some people have talked about, problem-solving skills, critical thinking, interpersonal skills, because guess what, for every job you do in this world, you're going to work in, not every job, but the majority of jobs, you're going to work in a team. If you are going to be grading everybody else and you got poor interpersonal skills, no employer wants you. If you're not able to communicate with everyone, you cannot maintain a communication, you cannot discuss issues without being aggressive, or you're too timid and passive and you don't have assertiveness skills, you are not going to get the job. From my experience of interviewing, these are the things that we test, because we are not looking for your grades at that point. At the point when you've come in and you've been shortlisted, you already had good grades. Everybody who is shortlisted for the top jobs has got a good grade. So I'm not looking for your grades anymore. It's a level playing field. The question is, what else do you bring to the table? In fact, you may not get shortlisted if your CV doesn't have the skills. So soft skills is very important. The other thing that's very important is experience. And by that, I don't mean only work experience. I mean the richness of experience you've had. So work experience is very important, but also your commercial awareness is important, and you also the additional activities that you've taken part in. So, for example, I think someone said on the Slido, maybe you are part of the students' body in your school, maybe you are the head prefect, maybe you were part of a community that did something. All of those experiences matter and they help you when you're looking for a job. The next thing I want to talk about is your network. It's not only in Nigeria that who you know matters. There is a saying that your network is your net worth. I repeat it. Your network is your net worth. So who you know matters. But it doesn't mean that you don't necessarily need to know them in a very close manner. It could be an acquaintance of an acquaintance. But it's important that you keep those relationships warm. They do say that about 70% of jobs are not advertised. You won't believe it. 70% of jobs are not advertised. So for you to get those work experience opportunities, for you to get those enrichment opportunities, you need to communicate with other people. So having a LinkedIn account is one of the ways in which you can start to enrich and build your network. I do remember that Chosen, who is on this call, she was a volunteer in one of my sessions, and that was the day she decided I'm going to set up my LinkedIn account when she saw me showing people how to set up their LinkedIn accounts. And the last one is not the least, is the one that we all know. I call it technical skills because it covers more than academics. It's your academics, so definitely your academics matter. Without getting those grades, you don't even open the door at all. So you need to open the door first, and then the other things will help you to at least get through that door. So your IQ matters, your EQ matters. Both emotional intelligence and your IQ are what give you success. And when I talk about technical skills, I'm not just talking about academics. You could be a whiz in computing. So and you may not even have done anything to do with computing. So having those skills or those extra skills like knowing how to use Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, PowerPoint, all of those are extras on top of your academics that are technical skills. It could be that you're good in music, it could be that you're good in sport. All of those are extra things that will help you in life. So that is the scent formula in a nutshell. I'm going to talk a bit more about how that is applicable in one example later on. But before we do that, can you please go back to Slido? So click on Chosen, please put in the link again in case anyone's missing it. And I want to launch the Slido and ask a question. I'm going to stop sharing this and share my Slido. So this was our last question. It's still the same link, it's still the same QR code. And what we want to do now is I'm going to go to the next question and I will launch that question. So can you please choose one of the answers? When do you think your child should start to build their career? Okay, only 5 people have voted. 6 now, thank you. We had 7 the last time. We should at least have 7 that have access. And we have more people than that actually on the call. Okay, I'm going to wrap this. Maybe people are struggling to get to the screen. So I am going to show the results. And okay, can you see the results? Yeah? If you can do a thumbs up reaction so I know that you definitely can see the results. Okay, so the majority rightly think that this should start in year 12, and some think it should start in the first year of university. The reality is that it needs to start in year 12 or even earlier. Okay, but year 12 at least is when the rubber hits the road. Now, when we looked at salaries earlier on, I talked about potentially your child could be an investment banker at age 21 who is earning 40,000 per annum. And guess what? The way their salaries increase is more exponential. So maybe by age 25, this child may be earning 100,000 per annum. That's how quickly they rise if they are successful in their career. in their careers. So if your child is going to be a graduate analyst in an investment bank, I'm going to share the story of somebody that has gone through this. So this, for you to get to this result of my child is 21 years old or 22 years old, earning 40,000 per annum with prospects of earning 100,000 in the next 4 or 5 years. When did that journey start? That's the result. That's what we can see and we can rejoice about and dance on Instagram or Facebook or wherever people dance these days. What is the journey? So we need to look at the journey. You don't just get there. In order to do that, I'm going to give the example of somebody I know that became an investment banker at age 21. I'm not going to share her name or the actual year just so that I'm keeping her confidentiality. But basically, this person, let's say in 2021, this year, this September, this month we're in, has started a role as an investment banker analyst. Okay? What came before that is the question that we need to ask. The thing is that this young lady did not just become an investment banker. She didn't just get that job this summer. She got that job last summer. How did she get the job before she graduated? Because she only just graduated this year. She graduated in May, June, ceremonies in July. How did she get the job since last year? Well, she was a summer intern. So she did her internship at the bank last year, summer 2020. Even though there was COVID, she did it remotely. They were okay to do it remotely. So she was an intern at the investment bank last year. And when she finished her 6 to 10 weeks of internship, because she did so well, she was promised that when you finish your degree, as long as you end up with a 2-1 or a first class, you do not need to apply anymore. You automatically will come and start your job here. That's the typical story in the city. This happens in consulting, this happens in banking. So the question is, well, how did she get that summer internship? So I'm rolling back layer by layer. We need to know the journey. She got that summer internship through having a great CV, being in the kind of university that the banks are looking for, and she applied the year before. So when she did that role in summer of 2020, she had applied between September and December of 2019. Right now, as we're speaking, some kids are applying for jobs for their summer internship now. And they tend to be on a rolling basis. If you are late and you apply in December, they might have taken everybody they need. Or they might have stopped the process and they just start the interviews. So the ones that are savvy right now are already up there in the second year of university. Yeah, they're not in the final year yet. They're in the second year of university and they're applying right now for summer internship for next year. So this is what this young lady did. Guess what? This lady did not read accountancy. Neither did she read economics. She read languages. And yet she got this job in the investment bank. Why did she get it? She had a good CV. She was in a good university. And she passed their test. There's a test you need to take. And because the test is numeracy based, whether or not you are not reading a numerical subject, if you can pass the numeracy test, you're good enough. That's the standard that they have. And so that's how she got the summer internship. And she became, at the end of the summer internship, she was promised a job. But how did she get that summer internship? So she initially, in her first year in university, during the course of the first year in the university year was 2018 to 19. In the spring of 2019, she did an internship. Not necessarily, it wasn't the same bank, but she had a spring internship. Now, For all you care, that spring internship might not even have been an investment bank. It might have been in consulting to still have profiled her well for this job in, in 2020 and 2021. And so what was needed for what did she do to get that spring internship? Yet again, between September and December. So a lot of people, their children are starting university this September, first year. Guess what a lot of kids do? They get there, they start to party. Hey, this is my fresh year. The grades don't count for my degree, it doesn't matter. Big mistake. Yes, for the final degree, the grades may not count or they might only count for 10%. But if you're going to apply for a spring internship, they want to know that you're on target to get a first class or a 2-1 for your first year. So this is where it goes wrong for a lot of people, because at that point when they're applying, they already had good A levels, they had good, they came in, they're in a good university. But when they apply for the spring internship, in fact, some of them are fast asleep. They didn't even know that people were applying. They're still settling into university, trying to find their feet. People have applied. Okay, they're not usually many. They are extremely competitive. But if you are not part of you are not at the table, then you can't even eat any of the food at the table. You need to at least be at the table, even if it's competitive. So a lot of people do not know that. They find out too late, too bad. People that end up doing the spring internship are very likely to get a summer internship because the CV is looking better than most people's CVs. Remember that at the time you've just come into your first year, you don't have any grades yet other than your A levels. So we're going to roll back to what was it that attracted anyone to you at that point. Let me go back to this one. At the time when you did your summer internship, when you applied for your summer internship in year 2, you already had your year 1 results. And although many people thought, well, I don't care about my year 1 results, that is going to open more doors for you for summer internships. When you come to the spring internship, which is in your first year, you've just literally got into university, you've applied for the spring internship, and you get to do the job in April during the holidays in April. Now, doing that really sets you up for success. But you've only just come into university. What are you going to have on your CV? Okay, you got good grades, but is that all you're going to put there? Absolutely not. You're not going to get a spring internship with just good grades. And so this is why I say the journey starts before you get into your first year of university, because if you got no profile, you got no job. Even when you have the profile, it's still hard. So if you've got no profile, just forget it. And so what happens at that point is that the people who already have a very strong CV are the ones likely to get a spring internship. So this young lady I've talked about, she had lots of work experience whilst she was in her A-level years. Okay, so in her A-level years, she did voluntary work, just like how Chosen is doing right now. She worked even in places like tech schools. It really doesn't matter too much at that point. Just make sure you're getting all sorts of voluntary work. So if you're a foreign student, I know that they allow you to work for at least 10 hours during term time and during the holidays or something. At least try to do some of those jobs before you just jet your child back off to Nigeria or back off to where they actually reside. It's useful to get some work experience. Now, I have an opportunities page. Chosen, please put the link for the opportunities page into the chat box. On the opportunities page, I usually post all the jobs that I know about in the UK, all the opportunities. Some of them are work experience, so you might not get paid, but it doesn't matter. You're getting experience. And because of COVID, they have increased exponentially. You actually get virtual work experience. Because of the fact that there's also a lot of Black Lives Matter that has happened in the past year, there are more opportunities for Black and minority ethnic people. And so following what I cover on the opportunities page on a weekly basis, you're very likely to get one opportunity or the other. I do know people on this call who have actually got opportunities from what I post on that page every week. Okay, so for you to be at that place in your spring, in your first year of your university and be able to clinch that spring internship, you need to have built a profile. So, what happens before that? Okay, you are in your first year of university, you start your university in September 2018. For people on this call today, maybe you're starting in September 2021 and you were awake. You were not fast asleep when everybody was applying for the spring internships. Now, why is it difficult for foreign students? You may not know the system. You may have just come in straight from abroad into this system. And if you do not know, you do not know. By the time you find out, almost all the jobs are gone. Okay? And so I'll talk later about how I can help international students with this. But before you got into a top university, if you're going into the good universities, you must know the process for applying to university. So you'd have a great personal statement. In some cases, you have to take tests. So like if you're going to Oxford or Cambridge, not even only those ones, for LSE, for a lot of them, for particular subjects like economics or law, you actually have to take some tests. Now, guess what happens? If you waited till when you were in year 13 to find out, it may be too late. Why? Because if you're going to write a great personal statement, you need to have been building the profile for some years, for some time, before you actually are able to write something great in that personal statement. If the whole of the time all you did was your academics, you never did anything outside of the academics, what are you going to write in the personal statements that will help you get into a great university? If you wanted to study medicine and you haven't done any work experience in the medical field, you're definitely not getting in. So your profile cannot just be built in year 13. You needed to have started building it in year 12. Especially if you want to go to Oxford or Cambridge or you want to study things like medicine, you're going to submit your application by the 15th of October. That's around the corner. So literally you get into school within 6 weeks of year 13, you're submitting your application if you're going for the top universities or if you're going for the top careers like medicine or vet medicine or dentistry. You still have till January if you're applying to the other universities, but even at that, remember that year 13 is intense. You're focusing on getting those grades that matter for you to be able to get into the university. So if you haven't built up your profile before then, now you're going to have too much pressure. You're building your profile as well as trying to focus on your A-level exams or your IB exams. Okay? So for you to have a great personal statement, there is stuff that you need to have done in year 12. Because if you haven't done it, you're going to be stretched in year 13. The other thing is that in year 13, one of the things that makes your application stand out is your predicted grades. So your teachers are going to give you your predicted grades. If you wasted year 12 not focusing, not getting the grades, right? Then you're going to be predicted rubbish. Then it already changes you. It kind of like rules out a lot of universities. So that is why the journey starts in year 12. I believe year 12 is a very crucial year. It's a crucial year for focusing to get good grades for your predicted grades that are going to be cited by your teachers in year 13 as soon as you get in for your application. It is also the year when you want to be doing all sorts of activities like the work experience, the super curricular activities that will help you get a great personal statement. And also when you get into university will help you to already have a great CV so that you're able to get the spring internships. So you can see that for you to be that analyst in September 2021, that's this year, suddenly this 21-year-old graduates with 40K salary in an investment bank, it just doesn't fall out of the skies. It's not by prayer and fasting. That is important. But if you fasted and prayed and did none of this, that miracle is not going to happen. You need the prayer and fasting on top of the work that you have done. And so for you to get to this state, 5 years down the line or 6 years down the line, if you're doing a longer course, you need to actually have started the journey 5 years before when you were in year 12. And I just leave this quote because it's so apt for what we're saying. For you to get to that point, what was your foundation? Every great accomplishment rests on the foundation of what came before it. Okay. There are people on this call today that have got children in their A-level years. So the journey starts. Let's say your child is starting A-levels this September or has started last week, this week. The journey starts now. If by the time 5 years from today, you want them to have something beautiful like this, they don't need to go into investment banking. It could be law, it could be accountancy, it could be, I showed you the whole range of good salaries, average salaries of top jobs. That could be your story. You do not want your child's story to be that person who is stacking shelves or serving coffee after 5 years of university or 6 years. Not 5 years of university, 5 years of studying A levels and university, or 6 years A levels up to masters. In order to do that, you need the journey to start right now. So, what happens if your child is already in university and they didn't do all of this in A levels? It's not the end. At least you know now that we can start to do something. But if you do not know and you haven't done anything, or you don't start to take action to rectify what the lost years, I should say, then it's worse. At least from the point when you know, you're able to do something about the situation. Okay, so we have covered a lot, and you now know what the new immigration rules mean. So it's good, but the downside to it is that you could just be floundering and meandering after your study years, just doing odd jobs. You definitely don't want your child doing odd jobs for the next 2 years after they've finished. Okay, if they're going to build a profile, I promise you, even if your child doesn't want to stay in the UK after, even if you don't want your child to stay, you want them to go back home, do the NYC and live in Nigeria, that career break that they had at the beginning of their career on their CV opens doors forever. When I came into Deloitte in this country, I had worked in Deloitte in Nigeria as a graduate back in the day when I finished in, I can't remember now, maybe I got into Deloitte in, I can't remember the years, maybe 1990 or so. Yeah, I had finished, I had done my NYC, I had done some odd job somewhere, and I got into Deloitte. But Deloitte on my CV, Deloitte Nigeria on my CV opened doors to Deloitte UK for me. And so some of what I've talked about here might even be you taking them back to get rich experience back in Nigeria as well. But it has to be international firms that are recognized, a brand that's recognized all over the world. But even when you do that, as much as possible, try to get in some UK experience that is solid, relevant experience. It really, really opens doors. So we now know what the immigration rules mean. You now know when you need to start, it's year 12. And you now know what the steps are to move from student to a great career. Okay, that's a lot. I've talked a lot about what needs to happen. And I introduced myself at the beginning. I run this Smart Students Club. There's one for A-level students and there's one for undergraduates. And we cover a lot in these clubs. We have soft skills workshops. They know about the super curricular activities, all the work experience. They get to know what the work experiences are. They get to know how to write their personal statements to open the doors to great universities, how to write their CVs, how to build their LinkedIn profile, because we talked about networking, even interview skills, how to interview for university, how to interview for jobs. We cover all of that. Plus, if you're a member of the club, you also get discounts for all the other things that are not included in the club. So you have 15 hours of workshops or coaching each year for your annual membership. And it's split into, for the A-level students, because they're in school most of the time, they have their workshops in the October half term, the February half term, because those are not the exam half terms, and then in the July. And what it does for them is it keeps them accountable, because they come in, they set their goals. Goal setting is one of the first things that we do. They set their goals and then they remain accountable for achieving those goals over the course of the year. And they get regular information and updates from us to help them to continue to follow through on those goals, to help them to actually find the work experience opportunities. So there will be some exclusive opportunities that we have, and they would be for club members. If they wanted one-to-one coaching, I do one-to-one coaching. They will get a discount because of the fact that they're members of the club. And the club is going to kick off, the first workshops of the club are going to kick off in October. For the university students, it's going to kick off before the half term. And for the A-level students, it's going to kick off in the half term. I'm going to share the dates later. So in the chat box, I don't know if Chosen has shared the link to the clubs, okay? And if you register for the club today, you get 20% off. It's £320 at the moment. It's 400 usually, but you get 20% off if you register for the club before October. So there is no pressure. You don't feel under any pressure to register today, but the offer for 20% closes in October. So I've talked a lot. I've spent the entire hour when I should actually have kept some time for Q&A. I said I'm here till 12. I'm happy to be here till 12:15 to take 15 more minutes of questions if people have got questions. So please, if you've got questions, please put them in the chat box and I will answer. What can I do for my year 13 son? Okay. Can you please expand on that question? Do you mean in terms of what he needs to be doing on a day-to-day basis or what we offer? Thank you, Kika. The payment is for the entire year. It's a membership year. So when you pay now, it takes you all the way from this. It's an academic year thing. It starts from this September till August, end of August next year. If you want to renew at the end of next year, then you pay another amount for next year. So it covers, you have 15 hours. It's not one session. So for the A-level students, it's 6 sessions, 2 in the October half term, 2 in the February half term, and 2 in the July half term. Okay. I think somebody has asked about installmental payments. Why don't you contact me when we finish and we can see what we can do offline? How they can get a job after completing the education here. So that is what we covered over this session in the past hour, that in terms of getting a job, they need to have gone through the cycle that we talked about, which is starting from year 12 or at any point in time through this journey. There are things that you need to have done that would help you. So each step it's building blocks. You don't just wake up at the end of your degree and say, I need a job now. That's not how it works. Okay? And as I said, every great accomplishment rests on the foundation of what came before. Okay. I've got a question here about a Nigerian student coming from the EU. I don't understand that question. Is this student an EU citizen or a Nigerian citizen? So if you please expand out, I might be able to answer you. So yes, the question about starting from year 12 is that, so the question is, should they have started, you said they should have started from year 12, should we be looking at doing some internship? Yes. However, for most year 12, you will not find internships. What you will find is work experience, typically unpaid. And so it's okay to do unpaid work experience. If it's relevant and good experience, it goes onto the CV. And so any opportunities, like some of the opportunities that we post on our website, are virtual work experience. Some of them are what we call insight days. Chosen on this call, can you please speak up again? You went to an insight day with Capgemini, and what happened there? Still with us, Chosen?
Yes. So I went to an Insight Day with Capgemini about 2 months ago, and it was virtual. They were just doing the norm. So if you don't know what an Insight Day is, it's basically where, as a student, you're exposed to the company. They tell you more about the company and what it's like day to day. What it's like day to day working there. They would bring some people from the company in, and you'll just get to know the like the nature of the company and what the company is about. And at the end of it, they may talk about how to get into internships and graduate schemes, etc. And that was basically how I got to do an interview with them after that insight day, because I asked about interviews and they put me through to someone who could interview me for a internship. Yeah.
Thank you for that, Chosen. Okay. Okay, so Dele, you're saying that somebody is coming from EU and they are a Nigerian citizen. There is no difference from those who are coming from Nigeria if they're coming here to either start their A levels or start their degree. It's the same cycle. They just need to know what the steps are to get them from student to career. Okay, and those are the things that I share within the club. I don't know if that's answered the question, Daily. If not, please put it back in the chat. Everyone who finishes here has a chance of getting a job here if they know what to do. They have a chance of getting any job. They can get a Tesco job. They can get a Costa coffee job because the rules now say you can stay for 2 years. What I'm focusing on is how do they get a job that is a career job that kickstarts their profile, and that's the journey that I went through. Okay, thank you. Access to our opportunities page. Chosen, please can you put the opportunities page back again on the in the chat? Thank you. Okay, I'm not sure if I've answered your question, please, Irene. If not, please let me know so that I can answer it more clearly. I think that's all the questions done. Is there any question that I haven't answered? If I haven't, can you please put your thumbs up or thumb down to say you haven't answered me? And so I know that I need to answer you. Otherwise, we're going to wrap it up. Okay. All right. Thumbs up. Let me see, is that a good or a bad? Okay. Access to the opportunities page. I think we've just posted that. Chosen, you typed it to me directly. Can you please put it on to everyone? Okay. Fumi Agbaje, how do I get good work experience from the university? Just to be clear, are you asking about getting the experience within the university, or how do you just get work experience in general? Can you please expand on your question? Yeah, within the university. So every student that goes to university, there will be a plethora of work experience opportunities there. They just need to apply. It's not exclusive to you whether you're a foreign student or a local student. The most important thing is that you are applying, but for you to apply and to be successful, you need to have a good profile. The question is, how do you build your profile? You're not going to build your profile on the day you're applying. You're building your profile before you apply. And in most cases, that means building your profile from year 12 and year 13. The reason why I harp on about year 12 is that year 13, people are heads down trying to just get the grades, so they're very busy. Year 12 is that year you've got a lot of flexibility to do all sorts of work experience, and at the same time, towards the end, really ramp up to make sure you get good grades so that your predicted good grades to get into the right universities. Okay, I don't know if that answers your question for me. Is it possible to get a good job while studying masters as a Nigerian coming from another EU country? Yes, it is. So if you're doing your masters here in the UK, remember that the rules for your tier 4 visa are that you can work. So there are no restrictions and there is no reason why you cannot. If you wanted to work full time, your visa may restrict you from working full time. But in most cases, the visa allows you to work 20 hours a week. There is no reason why you cannot get that job. Unless you're saying that that person is an EU citizen. I don't know the rules about EU citizens. But if this person is a Nigerian citizen and they're studying here, I know what the rules are. They should be able to get a job. I don't know if that's answered your favor. Okay, I think any more questions? Well, thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you for your rapt attention. As I said, I will share the recording so you can watch it, and any areas you did not get, you should then be able to go over and understand in more detail. If having gone through it, you still have questions, please by all means email me, and our email address is, my direct email address is, I'm putting that into the chat box now, is badike@thesmartkid.info. Okay. Thank you, Henrietta, for the clap. I appreciate it. Thanks, everyone. Okay, thank you, and bye for now.